Welcome, welcome. I am Dina, and you are tuned into another discussion with Dina. In the words of the late great Bernie Mac, who you with? As we are all fully aware, unless you've been living under a log somewhere, the political season is in full effect, and the arena is full. We have acrobatic clowns. We have trained animals, trapeze acts, musicians, dancers, hoopers, tightrope walkers, including some of our very own people like Rickey Smiley and Steve Harvey that has so many things to tell us and so much advice for Black people when it comes to the voting process. Now, as the Republican National Convention mojo seems to be dissipating, we are preparing to listen and partake in the festivities that will be offered up courtesy of the Democratic National Convention. That is going on this week. Now, each time there is a convention, the said party seems to receive a boost in the poll numbers. They seem to get a boost in their financial support in general, and just a whole lot of attention and hoopla. So whether you choose to simply observe it, to participate in it, it is still simply political theater. As always, I always advise us, me, and all of us to remember that the propaganda machine is constantly and continuously working. And it is very powerful. It is one of the most powerful weapons known to man. Recently, we were able to witness the effects of indoctrination, the propaganda machine, and a simulation from one of our dear brothers, Rickey Smiley. And I think we should take a lesson from what we're hearing and seeing from some of our brothers and sisters who have taken sides in this political process. I think we should take a listen to a little of what Rickey Smiley had to say in regards to the Black community participating in the voting process this election season. So let's just take a listen to what it is he had to say.
Kamala Harris. I'm just sick of the Black people on the internet talking about I'm not with her. Okay, so if you're not with her, that means you with Trump. Y'all need to block every last one of their asses on Facebook and on Instagram and social media and stop. Like that's just garbage.
My dear brother, Mr. Smiley, you are said to be a college-educated man. So let's put on our thinking caps today. In an election, there are several candidates that you may vote for. You have the choice to choose from 6 in this case. There are 6 different ones. Just because they are not labeled Republican or Democrat makes no never mind, especially if the Democratic and Republican candidates nominated do not speak to our needs and offer anything specific and beneficial to us as a people. Voters also have the right to select any candidate or neither candidate. It is their prerogative and makes them no less in favor of one over the other. And in this case of voting, we like to say vote for the lesser of two evils. But would not it mean that you are indeed still voting for and endorsing evil? I understand why you may be confused. A similar analogy would be if I have a choice between string beans and broccoli as a side, and I don't choose to eat the string beans. That does not mean that I am endorsing or in favor of the broccoli. I can simply choose a different side altogether or have no vegetables at all. So making that analysis is not accurate, nor is it beneficial to use in this particular circumstances when it refers to our people. Black people in America deserve to have their needs met. They deserve to have the candidates listen to what it is that we desire, and to have established a prerequisite or requirement when it comes to the political candidate that seeks and desires to obtain the majority of our Black votes. We must keep this in mind.
Yeah. It's just garbage.
Can everybody we be united on anything?
Can't agree on a damn bucket of chicken. One person want a hot dog.
Always
Black folks get on my damn nerves, man. Why everybody making all these celebrities making all these videos going off on Kamala Harris and stuff, and then the black men, Kamala Harris didn't prosecute you and treated you bad in court. I got treated bad in court too, but I'm with her because a vote for her. If you sit at home and you don't support her, you're definitely supporting Donald Trump. You can vote for who you want to, but don't be trying to encourage other people and sit up there and put bad stuff. Where's that same energy for Donald Trump?
But Ricky, aren't you doing the same thing that you're saying that other people that you would recommend they not do? It seems like you're doing the same thing. You're encouraging people to do something. Okay, Ricky, so what you're saying is because you are with her, that we should also be with her? Should we not have the right to decide what she has done that would make us want to vote for her, or what she hasn't done that would make us less likely to vote for her? So we should simply fall in line because this is who you have chosen? Is that right, Ricky? Of course, we can unite on many issues. However, we must keep in mind that we are not one big Negro. We are not a monolith and can have and are entitled to varying opinions and ideas and views. It is the majority action of any type of group that makes a difference. You will never have 100% agreement in any case, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. There must always be a voice of reasoning. It does not, or that person does not have to be hostile or antagonistic, but you should not simply dismiss them because they are in disagreement with your ideas. Perhaps it can bring attention to what the majority tend to have overlooked, what the majority have excluded or simply chosen to dismiss. In this case, most people that are speaking are in objection to your candidate may have valid reasons for their dissension. And it would be wise of you, rather than calling them names, to listen and dig further into why they have the opinion that they have about the candidate that you have approved and chosen.
Y'all not even out here doing real research. And look at her record. If you do the research on whatever, stop believing everything you read and do real research, you can see what a record is. You can see what she have done. I think you can Google what have Kamala Harris done for the black community, or things that black people benefit from or not. We need to stand with her. We need to stand with her. She's great. She will make a great president. And what a blessing to be living in a time where a black woman can become president of the United States of America. In our time, we get a black man and a black woman become president. That's unheard of.
Come on,
stop it.
Be on the right side of history. Be on the right side of history.
It's just the Amber Rose and everybody got all these videos and stuff and talking about Kamala Harris talking out of both sides of her. How would you say something so disrespectful? Even if you felt that way, I wouldn't dare make a video or say nothing like that to the vice president of the United States of America that's trying to stand up and that's going to possibly pick 2 United States Supreme Court justices or whatever to try to keep the laws in place that Thurgood Marshall and all of the people that have paved the way and try to redo and get back into some of this settled law, women's rights to choose, your voting rights, and Brown versus the Board of Education. Should do your homework.
Okay, Mr. Smiley. I did do a bit of research and somewhat homework, and I found it difficult to find all of the wonderful things that Miss Kamala did for the Black community. Would you share with us just some of your research, please? Because I just keep going back to what Kamala said out of her own mouth. And here's a reminder exactly of what she said. And I think that hearing it from the horse's mouth is the best way. So there won't be any kind of hearsay. We're just clear on that. And here's what she said.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
You got a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated reading in a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated into the damn White House. What's wrong with y'all?
Come on, man.
MLK holiday.
But y'all mad because she was talking about reparations.
Who was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated?
Come on.
Come on now.
Okay.
Something that you do. And respectfully, those Greek letters and organizations mean a lot to some people. I personally am not one of those people. The preference is tangibles over symbolism today. I still can recall when former President Obama was a candidate and running to be elected. There was so much hoopla, and there was a lot of genuine support from the Black community on his behalf, even though he was of mixed race. Many people, Black people, wanted him to become the first Black president. Losing focus on how and what his plan was, what was his policy, we felt as if it would somehow, him being similar or looking like us, would be beneficial to Black people. Not that it somehow negates the fact that he is president to the entire country, but Black people still had great needs that were consistently being ignored by politicians. And I think that some assume that this somehow this person would take into account our needs and develop policies that would also be beneficial to the Black community. There was a caution given to the Black community by one Tavis Smiley. And yes, he caught a lot of slack and a lot of heat because of it. People were upset with this one man who really tried to warn us all not to get caught up in emotion and feelings and the symbolism, the hype that came around this man because he shared a similar skin tone. Tavis was that voice of reason. And many dismiss his forewarning that we must also hold Obama accountable as well and require tangibles from him as well. Focus on the issues and let the emotions reside on the side. He wanted us to focus on the issues and the policies that Mr. Obama was telling us about. What did he have to offer us specifically? Not only what did he offer to the other groups, but to Black people as well. He didn't want us to blindly put our support behind this candidate simply because he appeared to look similar to some of us. And this made so many people upset, but in the end, Mr. Tavis Smiley was right on point. We cannot continue to be manipulated emotionally with symbolism and pandered to while being ignored, our needs being ignored. We're giving our vote away and obtaining nothing palatable, just symbolism, a dance, a dinner, and a song, yet nothing progressive, substantial.
Over the past few weeks, a chorus of Black leaders have started singing a new song. I must have missed that choir rehearsal, Jay, because I don't know the words to this new hymn The president doesn't need a black agenda. They say he's not the president of Black America. He's the president of all America. I'm telling you, this is the damnation of black people. We're going to slip down a slope into hell if we start thinking that we can give any leader a pass on addressing black issues.
I have never leveled a personal critique against the president ever. I've never said anything personal about Barack Obama, number one. Number two, I detest when people suggest I'm an Obama critic. I'm a member of the media, and my job, like yours, if you're doing it well, is to hold the president accountable. It doesn't make me a critic. Nobody calls Maureen Dowd or Frank Rich or any news anchor asking the president, Brian Williams, anybody else asking tough questions a critic. You're doing your job. My job is to hold the president accountable. So I'm not a critic of the president. I do believe in holding him accountable, number one. And number two, if you can ever show me anything I've ever said say anything personal about the president, I'll copy that. I don't do business that. Wrote a book called Where Do We Go From Here? And it's still the question all these years later. I think it starts with recognizing again what data tell us. I'm so over people like Donald Trump who speak off the cuff and have no regard for facts, have no regard for real data. So we have to start by paying attention to what the data is telling us. And the data, again, is telling us that Black America has lost ground in every major economic category over the last 10 years. And if we care about the sanctity and the humanity and the dignity of those lives, and for that matter, all lives in this country, we got to take these issues seriously. Why do I say all lives? Because these issues may be Black America's problem, but they're white America's burden. And I believe when you make Black America better, you make all of America better. So where we head is to the facts, to the data first, to see what they tell us, and then to start making demands. As I said earlier in this conversation, we did not make enough demands over the last 10 years. Other communities did. You have not because you ask not. To the victor goes the spoils. You can't be the most loyal constituency of this or any president and not see some progress made during that tenure. So let's start with the facts, and then let's start making some demands. You got to agitate if you want the system to do anything for you.
We cannot continue to be manipulated emotionally with symbolism and pandered to while being ignored and giving our vote away and obtaining nothing palpable. Just symbolism, a dance, hearing someone sing a song or doing something that is hip, yet we are given nothing that is progressive or sustainable or even quantifiable. Now, as I recall, President Obama would not even consider reparations, even though he was aware, and we know that we are owed this. This is something that is owed to the descendants of slaves to this very day.
So if you ask me, theoretically, are reparations justified? The answer is yes. There's not much question, right? Core of this country was built in significant part, not exclusively, maybe not even the majority of it, but a large portion of it was built on the backs of slaves. What I saw during my presidency was that the politics of white resistance and resentment, all that made the prospect of actually proposing any kind of coherent, meaningful reparations program struck me as politically not only a non-starter, but potentially counterproductive.
Great grandfathers were slave owners in Alabama before the Civil War, and has that revelation caused you to change your position on reparations?
You know, I find myself once again in the same position as President Obama. We both oppose reparations, and we both are the descendants of slave owners.
Not to be funny, but just take note of his facial expression and the excitement. It's almost as if he practiced this. And you could hear in his voice, he simply wanted to use Obama as a cover to hide his reasoning for not supporting reparations. It is because he is a benefactor of white supremacy and knows that his real reasoning or reason for denying it is because he understands the resulting impact that it may have. And he has no remorse nor concern for what his ancestors have done in the act of subjugating Black people and denying them basic resources, because he has reaped full benefits from it. So much so, even convincing other people, this so-called Black man that's in office, to be in agreement with him. His response was as if to say, Obama is a so-called Black man and opposes it, then surely it is not important and is a non-factor. Did anyone else recognize that same familiar demeanor within your life when you have came in contact with people that are similar to him in positions that are familiar, that you came in contact with people like him? They are, when you're standing before a similar judge, it kind of, it's a familiar thing. If you're standing sometime in front of law enforcement or people in certain positions, they always have this kind of smirk, like, I know something you don't, or I have the ability to do something to you. And they think that we don't understand their mentality as to why they feel that way and where it came from. But most of us do. Many of us are very much aware of what and whom we're looking at. And most of these people, like this man, he carries his father's mindset. He carries the his ancestors' mindset, the enslavers, and the work of his father. He is okay with continuing, and this is why we must say never again, and we must really mean it when we say it, and that is especially true when it comes to politics.
Your generation knows all too well that those old fault lines of fear, racism, and discrimination based on the color of your skin weren't erased by a civil war or the passing of the Civil Rights Act, and certainly not the election of a Black president.
President Obama would not even consider reparations, even though he was aware, and we know that we are owed this. This is something that is owed to the descendants of slaves to this very day. But can one honestly say that Black lives were made progressively, financially, and substantially better by voting him in? And I said that to say it is time to put our emotions aside and set requirements for any candidate or candidates that want the bulk of Black votes. A candidate that desires and chooses to sit down and listen to us. Black people need to be taken into account when determining policies. A candidate that does not lump us into other groups. This is a way of diminishing our needs and overlooking us, and just overlooking our cries for actual quantifiable justice and reparations and restitutions. We're owed it. I'm sorry if it offends you. Just as the current administrations listen to the LGBT cries and exclusively develop bills, laws, and protections on their behalf, we are no different. As this administration did during COVID with the Asian population, they developed an anti-Asian hate bill that was put in place to protect them exclusively. And once again, what about the anti-Semitism bill? What about the rights and the resources that are given to the people who broke the law and entered the country illegally? Imagine that. Illegal individuals are even given resources that have not earned or they're not even entitled to. But just by entering into the United States, there are policies put in place to take care of them and their needs. But what about you, Black people in America? And Also, Mr. Smiley, does your research include the fact that Kamala expressed on behalf of this administration that non-Black people were added to the Freedmen's Savings Bank, making sure that Black people will never exclusively benefit from the harm that was caused by white supremacy towards us simply because we had Black skin.
There are many who are not familiar with the history of the Freedmen's Bank. So, Freedmen's Savings Bank was founded by the United States Congress in 1865. It was a bank unlike any other our nation had known. Freedmen's Bank was established to serve Black Americans newly freed from slavery, to help them build wealth and to build a better future. At Freedmen's, to open a savings account, you just needed 5 cents, which, as I've calculated, is about $1 today. In the years after its founding, tens of thousands of Black families opened an account at Freedmen's. They saved up to buy a farm, to build a home, to open a business. Even school children saved their pocket money to deposit it in this institution. And then 9 years later, after the bank first opened its doors, because of an economic downturn and because of the organized assault on the project of Reconstruction, Freedmen's Bank was forced to close. Over 60,000 people lost their savings.
The Freedmen's Savings Bank, as she stated, was founded by the United States Congress in 1865. And she said herself it was a bank unlike any other that the nation had known because it was established exclusively to serve Black Americans newly freed from slavery, to help them build wealth and to build a better future. And why? Why was this necessary? Because we were denied this right by white America and they didn't want us to use their banks. They didn't want us to have any finances. They didn't want to lend money, and they refused to provide financial services to Black people. Now, today, fully aware that it was Black people exclusively that were wronged, and Black people exclusively that should be compensated for that wrong. Ms. Harris announced that they added Latinos, Asian business owners, rural whites to the claim, making this not exclusively compensation to the Black people who were owed the restitution. Even though this hurts and hinders Black people financially, it hinders us exclusively. For this wrong that was done, it doesn't matter to this organization because they don't hear us. This administration, as the ones before, they don't hear us. It's like including poor Germans in the Holocaust payments. It is now less beneficial and takes the funds away from the actual harmed parties involved. And it continues to destroy the people as a result. It just continues to show the complete disrespect and disregard to Black people and supports the cause for reparations exclusively, not any other group lumped into it, but exclusively to the descendants of slaves here in America. Politicians traditionally have no problem listening to and taking into account specific people and our groups, their needs. That is, until it comes to the Black population here. We are just expected to go and vote. Vote because your ancestors in this racist society had to fight and die for a say in how what we built is ran. So we are told simply vote. No, we don't simply vote For the sake of voting, we must vote for what is in our best interest. Because our votes are looked upon as a given by so many, we are promised nothing. No beneficial policies promised on our behalf, nor should we even expect anything. Not a bill to protect us in a society that actually subjugated us. They brutalized, they discriminated against, and lawfully we were denied resources. And this happened for centuries. So all of a sudden, the bills, the laws are so difficult to transcribe when it comes to Black suffrage, when it comes to Black needs, or giving us resources. It's controversial, it's confusing, and all of a sudden it's not constitutional, and it requires much prolonged study or research, and usually is just ignored, tabled, or conveniently just disregarded. I think that's called benign neglect. So no, Mr. Steve Harvey, Mr. Roland Martin, Mr. Rickey Smiley, we're not simply voting for those who may share similar skin tones to some of our Black people, unless that candidate or candidates plain and simply offers us something tangible in exchange for the Black bloc vote. Come sit with us. Let's talk. Let's compromise. Proposition us and be willing to offer us, as it is done with other groups, something of substance, some resources, and not just more symbolism, especially during these desperate times in our existence. We have already been there and done that already, sir. So now it's time for us to get down to brass tacks and get what we need done. It's time for real change. So no, don't cast a vote simply for the sake of casting a vote. We need to make sure that there is something in it for us. And I'll ask you, who you with? So again, I'm asking you, who you with? Make a wise decision. I want to thank you for listening to me today, and I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. Leave your views on any of the topics or conversations that we are discussing. And I will see you next time for another discussion with Dina. Ta-ta!
This concludes your daily discussions with Dina. Join us Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment.